Right, 29 August 2023, and I really appreciate all of you for joining me this evening for an interesting discussion on what is going to be happening within the next few weeks, and specifically the Zimbabwe political landscape is going to change in ways that you cannot expect within the next few weeks. And I want to be touching on the issue of the GNU, the Government of National Unity, and the Government of National Unity between Nelson Chamisa and President Mnangagwa is certainly coming, and you will soon see the events that are going to develop within the next few weeks. I've got no doubt that either side will have to compromise and work with the other. So there's no way that President Mnangagwa can work by himself. There's no way that Nelson Chamisa can work by himself. The two sides, ZANU-PF and the CCC, are going to be forced to work together. And what I've realized and what I've noticed about Zimbabweans, especially young Zimbabweans, they don't know what to do. They don't know where to place themselves at the moment. So the young guys who are in ZANU-PF, they are happy that ZANU-PF won, but you can clearly see that nothing is going to improve under ZANU-PF. The guys who are in CCC, they believe that Nelson Chamisa won the election, but they don't know what to do now that ZANU-PF has refused to relinquish power. And some people are even asking me, Kambakwe, now that you said Chamisa is going to win, don't you think that you should have said Mnangagwa is going to win so that you will be in a better position? So this desire, this constant desire by young Zimbabweans to be on any side that they think is winning is a problem. And that is what we call polarization. There's a lot of polarization in Zimbabwe, and each side wants to win at all costs. What I usually call a winner-take-all mentality. It's everywhere in Zimbabwe, especially in the politics of our country. But as I said, the GNU is coming. President Mnangagwa right now under a lot of pressure from the SADC, from the AU, from Commonwealth, from EU. Everybody agrees that the election that was held in Zimbabwe was not a credible election, and this election does not reflect the will of Zimbabweans. This is a fact. And in fact, the SADC has sent a group of elders today, and they landed today. They're going to be in Zimbabwe over the weekend, meeting all the stakeholders. And this is because SADC does not believe that a credible election has taken place in Zimbabwe. If President Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF continue to insist on saying they won this election and they proceed with this election, the consequences are dire for President Mnangagwa. The consequences are dire for ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is in a very, very bad spot right now. So this takes us back to 2008, March 2008. And we were in exactly the same spot. But at that time, Morgan Tsvangirai had won the election against Mugabe. And leading up to that election in 2008, March 2008, there was a lot of violence. A lot of people were killed by ZANU-PF people. Farms were invaded, and a lot of displacement took place. At that time in South Africa, a lot of Zimbabweans fled to this country to come and take refuge. And as you walked in town, especially at the Park Station, there were a lot of Zimbabweans who were sleeping at the Methodist Church on the street. In fact, if you went into South Africa at that time, at the Methodist Church, you would find no less than 1,000 Zimbabweans who lived on the street during the day and slept in the Methodist Church at night. The situation was so bad in Zimbabwe, many people were displaced. And Morgan Tsvangirai, after winning that election, the first election, his party had the majority, and Mugabe refused to relinquish the office of president. And he said that there's going to be a runoff. Results took months to be released. So after that, Morgan Tsvangirai was left with no choice, because there was even more violence after that. You remember that Morgan Tsvangirai was chased into the Dutch embassy in Harare. And eventually he had to flee to the Dutch embassy in Botswana. So this is all the things that happened leading up to the 2008. So the runoff was in June 2008. The election was March 2008. And then by September, negotiations started under President Thabo Mbeki, under what was called the Global Political Agreement. And we had a process that led to a government of national unity in January 2009. Zimbabwe has never known such prosperity as it had under the Global Political Agreement, under the leadership of President Mugabe as president and Morgan Tsvangirai as the prime minister, with Deputy Prime Minister Arthur Mutambara. You remember the things that I'm recounting to you now, they are a description of what has happened before in Zimbabwe, the best time that Zimbabweans know in terms of politics. A politics where polarization was there, but it did not define the day-to-day lives of our people. The problem that we have right now is that politics has taken center stage. We are continuously victims of Zimbabwe's polarized politics. So every Zimbabwean knows that nothing is moving. The currency is not improving. No investment is coming in. President Mnangagwa right now, if he was to continue like this, it would be another 5 years of struggling, of promises. And this is where Zimbabwe is. But as I said, the GNU is coming. The regional leaders are going to force President Mnangagwa and Nelson Chamisa to sit together. They are going to force these two people to talk to each other. And I'm glad that Nelson Chamisa did not say he was going to go to court today. That is a monumental waste of time. If Chamisa was to go to court now, he will certainly lose. The courts in Zimbabwe have been discredited by SADC. You saw what happened during the SADC report of the Election Observer Mission. SADC has discounted what the courts in Zimbabwe, the Constitutional Court in Zimbabwe has done. That court has been discredited by SADC. No one recognizes what happens in the courts in Zimbabwe. They believe that the courts have been politicized, the courts have been captured. So if Chamisa was to go to court now, it's a waste of time. Similarly, if there was to be a rerun now under ZEC, given the militarization of ZEC, the shambolic organization that took place, which was clearly being done by FARS, you could see that nothing is going to come out if we were to hold an election now. So the only method that is left is to go back to the GNU. And as I described to you, the GNU that Tsvangirai had with Mugabe, very, very successful. The country prospered like never before. People who lived in Zimbabwe had successful lives and careers. And this is what we want. We want people to do well. We want our country to do well. And this politics that we have right now is taking us nowhere. No one is enjoying this politics. No one is celebrating the win of President Mnangagwa right now in Zimbabwe. Even in his home right now, President Mnangagwa is not celebrating. If you go to Nelson Chamisa, the guys are not celebrating anything. They know they won the election, but they cannot take over. Even if they were to win, they will still have to take over. They will still have to work with the ZANU-PF parliament, which is good. Maybe almost 2/3 majority of ZANU-PF. So the only option left is to work together. But what are the parameters? What should Nelson Chamisa do? And I take you back to that time. And there are certain core concepts of a successful GNU. And Nelson Chamisa will have to learn from Morgan Tsvangirai. Like I said, the first thing, Morgan Tsvangirai left Zimbabwe and he went to Botswana for a week. I was in South Africa at that time, and he came to South Africa here for the negotiations. And I remember, if you remember, Ambassador James Maridani, he was very instrumental in that during those negotiations. And I saw the guys here. The key concept about that negotiation is that it was held in secret. So no one knew what was happening. So you can see that most people get disturbed. Like Chamisa is a very popular guy. He has to look at the interests, many competing interests within his own political party. But what happened during that negotiation is that the actual negotiation was done in secret. It was very closely guarded between Morgan Tsvangirai and the closest advisors of President Mugabe, and also Deputy President Mtambara. And I think Washman Ngube was closely involved. Tendai Biti was closely involved. I think Monzora was very closely involved in those negotiations. At that time, Nelson Chamisa was the spokesperson of the CCC, and Dr. Tokozani Kupe, she was holding fort in Harare. What I'm trying to explain to you here is a party that is properly structured, a party with heavyweights. When ZANU-PF was having Chinamasa on the other side, and on this side, we had Tendai Biti, we had very strong people in terms of negotiation. So that is one thing. You need a very strong team going into these negotiations. And as I said, the GNU is coming. President Mnangagwa cannot run the country by himself. Chamisa cannot run the country by himself. Both parties now need to work together. And the key concept is these talks, they have to start in secret. You need to be away from the noise. And secondly, Chamisa, if he is able, he needs to be out of Zimbabwe. He needs to be away from the influence of the people in ZANU-PF. Then the other issue here is putting the people's interests first. Tsvangirai was clearly very popular, more popular than Mugabe. Mugabe was weakened more than ever before. But Tsvangirai chose to leave that office. He didn't want to become president. He didn't contest in that runoff. Mugabe had to declare himself president. And everyone told Mugabe that this was a sham. Just like President Mnangagwa is being told right now that whatever he ran last week was a sham. There is nobody in the world who believes that President Mnangagwa has held an election. Nobody believes it. Even the guys in Zimbabwe, they know that what happened there, the delays, the fires, the whatever printing of the ballot papers without telling CCC, it's clear what happened there. That is what we call rigging. And I've told you what rigging is. Rigging is not in V11s. So I always hear people like Jonathan Moore saying rigging and V11s. Those are not the same. You can be rigged without V11s or with V11s. So it's clear that Tsvangirai put people first. He always wanted the people under his party who were being brutalized to do well. And this is what Chamisa should do at this particular moment. Chamisa should put his people first. And his people are people in ZANU-PF who voted for him and people in CCC who voted for him. Then, as I said, negotiate in secret. So I'm going to go about 14 points here, which I want to go through. So Chamisa must be out of Zimbabwe if possible. So that is away from the influence of the ZANU-PF guys. He needs to be somewhere where he's not influenced by the ZANU-PF guys. Then he needs to put his people first. He needs to negotiate in secret, and then he needs to find an impartial and powerful negotiator. President Thabo Mbeki, his biggest advantage was that he was able to listen to both sides, and both sides were able to listen to him. You know how President Thabo Mbeki is very experienced politician, a statesman, someone who understands the issues from an African perspective, but also someone who understands the modern direction which countries are supposed to go to. That is why that negotiation was able to succeed, because there was a negotiator there. So if you look right now, what is happening? We've got President Hakainde Hichilema. President Hakainde Hichilema and ZANU-PF, they've had a big fight. So it's not possible for President Hakainde Hichilema to mediate this dialogue which is going to take place. So we need to find somebody that is going to be useful to the negotiations without causing any problems. And I've always been saying, you need to look for people internally this time around, because the external people leave and they go. But if you get people internally, especially the religious leaders in Zimbabwe who came with the 7-year Sabbath, I keep going back to those guys. Negotiate with those leaders. You're going to do very, very well. You might have someone external, maybe from SADC, maybe from AU, or even someone from outside who is going to be able to understand the issues here. Then we also look at the people that Chamisa has got on his side. You got people like Tendai Biti, Maher is there. She's doing quite well. I'm sure she will do very, very well if you put her in the negotiations. She's a lawyer. And you have to dig deeper. The team around Chamisa is a bit light at the moment. So you have to find people that can negotiate, because Chamisa can't sit in every meeting and negotiate. And this is where it's going to be very important to take the values of Nelson Chamisa and put them into such a negotiation. And remember what I said, the GNU is coming. It won't come in one day. So remember what happened in 2008. March, there was election. June, there was a runoff. Mugabe won, declared himself, and I think he was inaugurated in July. For 6 months, there was negotiation. So where we are now, you're looking at around June 2024. That is where you're going to have a GNU, if everything goes well. So during this time, all this time, our country will be in limbo. And if President Mnangagwa tries to inaugurate himself right now, he's going to have a lot of problems. Right, so let's look at now the team. So we said Chamisa's team is a bit light. ZANU-PF has got a lot of heavyweights. So Chamisa now needs to start thinking of who he's going to put in his team. He also needs to clearly say what he wants from a GNU. And a GNU here is, remember, Chamisa won the election. Chamisa, right now, if you take President Mnangagwa and put him here, and put Chamisa here, and have an election today, Chamisa is going to win that election. So Chamisa should go into this election knowing that he's got the upper hand. He's got the upper hand. If these international organizations say, let's rerun the election, President Mnangagwa is going to lose that election. So Chamisa needs to find very, very good people, but he needs to be clear about what he wants. So remember what Morgan Tsvangirai got. He got the Ministry of Home Affairs. He got the Ministry of Finance. He got the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. He got the Ministry of ICT, where Chamisa was sitting. Do you see how powerful those ministries are? Those are front-facing ministries. Chamisa should not accept anything that will tarnish his image. So right now, if I was Chamisa, non-negotiable, Minister of Finance, he wants to be able to control the Reserve Bank. He wants to be able to control all the money that is going in and out of Zimbabwe. You want to control the Minister of Public Service. You want to control the Minister of Defense. Those are the things that Chamisa should write down now on a piece of paper. And to the guys who are saying not GNU, that's ruling, that's being a leader. Do not think that you can be a leader without sharing power. So power sharing is something that happens everywhere in the world. If you go to the United States, it's almost 50-50. If you come here to South Africa, there are provinces that are ruled by different political parties, and there are coalitions everywhere. So there's nothing special about Zimbabwe, which makes you think you're a Puritan and only this party or that party. So think about it. Power sharing is a concept in modern politics that you have to follow, that you have to understand, that you have to appreciate and take in. So we said Chamisa should be clear about what he wants. Take those 4 ministries: finance, defense, home affairs, public works, and also public service. I think those 5 ministries should go in there without negotiating. Then I want to look at the fact that Mnangagwa should be reminded all the time by Chamisa. So Chamisa should not be afraid. And I've seen that Chamisa is sometimes afraid of these guys. He lets them just do what they want. So in this GPA or GNU, Chamisa should be able to assert himself. This is the time for him to avoid the mistakes that happened in the last GNU. Remember where there was sharing of ministries? They ignored all the guys who were from MDC. They were ignored by the minister from ZANU-PF. The minister from ZANU-PF just took over. So now, in this particular arrangement, there should be no sharing of ministries. So the CCC guys should run Ministry of Finance. They should run Ministry of Defense without ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF can have the police and the prisons, and Chamisa can have the army. Those are the kind of things that you should go in there negotiating and say, I want this, I want that. And this is how you get your power, because anyway, you are supposed to be president. Then I want us to look at the role of spokespersons. And I saw my MP, Ostalos, doing a great job answering the questions today. My brother, Promise Mkwanans, you've got good guys there who are seasoned, who can speak for the party. But during a negotiation of a GNU, you clearly need people who know people who can speak. You need to communicate what's happening without revealing the details. And this is very, very important. The CCC, they're doing very, very well. Their platforms are now operating efficiently. You can see that people love the CCC. People are starting to identify with the CCC. Important people who are important in society, they are now identifying with the party. So you need to be able to communicate with these people. You need to pass the message. And I take you back to James Maridadi when he was here during the negotiation. The diaspora is critical. And what James used to do is, he used to go among the people. He used to see him walking around the people and talking to the people and understanding what people want, trying to address the concerns of the people. Because a lot of people have good concerns about what is going to happen. And you need people like that who are going to be able to resonate with the Zimbabweans across the political divide. Then I want us to look at what people should expect once there is a GNU. So firstly, your people must make money. And you know what I mean when I say your people must make money. The biggest problem that President Mnangagwa has had in Zimbabwe is that people did not make money under his government. People struggled. People in ZANU-PF struggled. People who are not in ZANU-PF struggled. The dollar lost value. So if you are going to be in government, your people should make money, the ordinary people. So fix all the promises that you had in that manifesto of yours. Fix those. But your ministers, people around you should make money. So create opportunities for your people, which means people should be able to assume positions outside of government, people in key institutions of the government. Like you see NASA, what is happening there? People like places like the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, ZEC, Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. I can name all these places. Your people should make a lot of money here because this is where everything is failing. And then obviously you need a ministry of the diaspora. This should be run by the CCC. The CCC needs to bring back Zimbabweans back home. People have been struggling from outside the country. And I think a GNU right now should focus on bringing our people back home. You should actually make it a job and a program to make sure that young Zimbabweans are not loitering all over the world the way that they're doing now. So just looking at this, this is the GNU. These are the lessons that Chamisa should learn from Morgan Tsvangirai, who did very, very well during that time. I want to now look at the comments and I want to wrap this up. We're going to be doing this almost every day because the time that we are is very, very critical. There is no person in Zimbabwe right now who is sleeping. It's a crisis. It's like there's been a funeral in Zimbabwe. This is how I can describe this situation. Right, let's look at Richmond saying, in your dreams, Papa, you will never take defense. I want Chamisa to take defense. The defense forces of Zimbabwe is in shambles. Like the guys who run that ministry, I don't know what they're doing. First, I think there's over there. They can't put equipment there. There's not enough equipment. She even came out and said it, that they don't have enough equipment, they don't have enough food, they don't have enough uniforms. You need an army that is a sleek fighting machine, not what we have right now. People who spend the whole day in politics. Now let's look at something else. Gambako, they're trying to keep the ZANU-PF candle burning. I don't know what they're talking about. Glad is saying GNU, CC will be swallowed. No, they won't be swallowed. Chamisa won't be swallowed by GNU. In fact, he's going to do very, very well. And everyone here thinks Chamisa is going to be killed. Why are you afraid of being killed? Everyone is going to die. So if you are Chamisa and you are president, why do you think everyone has got bodyguards? Because you know some people want to kill you. So why do you think he's going to be killed if you go in the GPA? If you let Chamisa walk in town from end to end, by the time he goes to the end, someone will kill him. So try to understand that being killed is part of being powerful. You can't be powerful and be afraid of dying. Do you think all these people in the world who are in agreements are not afraid of dying? Dying is part of life. Now let's look at I'm enjoying this. Everyone thinks Chamisa will be killed. Okay, let's look at something else. Talent. Gambako is making sensible political analysis here. Remember that he correctly had intel on the election outcome 3 hours before. Yes, I had the election results before. I know a few guys in FAS who gave me the results. Right, let's look at Ignitia says Watuma Nani. Okay, I guess all these things, it's part of life. I expect you guys to challenge me every day, but I also expect you to take it when I challenge you. I'm challenging the CCC guys to understand where we are. CCC is not going to win in court. They have to win in politics. They have to win in the political field. And they mustn't be afraid or shy of taking power. Chamisa is right now the leader of the opposition. He must make demands. And President Mnangagwa will have to answer to those demands because the whole world is looking. And every observer that was in Zimbabwe right now wants to see what is going to happen. We want to see if he's going to inaugurate himself. That is the first step. And if you see him inaugurating himself, then remember, it takes months. Mugabe inaugurated himself, but still, you're going to end up coming back to negotiation. Negotiation is the only solution for the situation in Zimbabwe. Don't think you can have a run in that place. ZEC, they are deliberately in shambles. Where have you ever seen someone calculating the results of an election using Excel in this day and age? In every country, there is a board on the screen where you are seeing right now, this party has got 500, this one now has 700. After an hour, you come back, this party has this, and this party is the other. ZEC are shamelessly running an archaic system from the 60s, and they are failing to add up the numbers. The numbers from ZEC, I saw ZEC made a statement to say that the numbers add up. I want to tell you that the numbers don't add up at all. Tell us how many ballots he printed. Right now, they must produce the number of ballots that they printed. Then you will see that the numbers don't add up. This is what I'm talking about. All this is what needs to be fixed in the government of national unity. That's why you need to have reforms during your government of national unity. And you need to use your best talent. Zimbabwe has got the best talent to take our country forward, not what is happening now. And I support Chamisa in everything that he's doing right now. Chamisa is not to blame for anything, and the young guys must understand the difficulty that he has to deal with right now with ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF, there are some people in the party that will never reform. And the only way to reform that country is to actually try to work with everybody. And as I said, philosophy, and my last comment, GNU is coming. Prepare for it and prepare well. Then you will do very, very well Right. I really enjoyed talking to you today. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a guest. I think I should get someone from ZANU-PF. And we'll talk about whether they think there was rigging or not. So I'll find somebody who comes from ZANU-PF. And we'll hear whether they think this election was credible at all and why. Then we challenge you. So this is it for tonight. And CCC, good job. The guys are doing a good job. They're using strategy now. They're not they're just aimlessly wandering into situations. And I like it. I like what they're doing now. Keep it up, guys. And everyone is going to be supporting the young guys in CCC to do well. But they have to understand that they have to probably work with ZANU-PF right now in the GNU so that they save our people. Our people have suffered incredibly under the ZANU-PF government, which will not listen. Right now, they will just go ahead. It's there. If you leave it the way it is. So you need to press them a little bit. I've told you that you need to press the ZANU-PF guys. They mustn't breathe at all in this situation. Everyone must make sure that they understand that we want things to work. We want currency to work. We want jobs in the country. We want water to flow in our taps. We want young people to feel like they belong to a nation, not this thing that we have now, where everybody is fighting everybody else, and every day something new, a new crisis coming up in Zimbabwe daily. So that is it, Chamisa. I hope that he got some lessons from Tsvangirai here. I know he was around. He knows all these things. But just for everybody else, GNU is coming, and prepare for it. Good night, everybody. See you again tomorrow.
Anokura meso, anokura nzebe, anokaya marigi. Kama kwetu tikomu, kwetu tikomu kusasaiwe. Kama kwe anokaya marigi.
Kamba kwe uyo, anotara mari, anogaya mari, garai mamunzwa. Paninya pano, zvamunoda kunzwa. Zvinotaurwa pano, madiko kumunzwa mugova ne.com. Kamba kwe vanogaya mari, vanotaura mari, vanosiya mari. Kamba kwe vanotaura feya kuti pamberi zvichafamba sei. Vanoterere zvikubatsirei, mukufamba kwenyu zvikubatsirei. Mirai ndikudze kuti chokwadi pano chizere. Kamba kwe vanogaya cash, vanopa mafacts, vanotaura straight, vane evidence, vane confidence plus intelligence.
Entertainment, current affairs and news. Kamba kwe .com. Usasarire, kamba kwe anokaya mari.